Hi guys, another episode. I'm so sorry it's been a while. Your girl has returned back to work. I've been hitting the gym and unfortunately I felt unwell recently, but I'm back. I'm good. So here is episode 3 and thank you very much for all your support, following, Instagram, YouTube, everything. So hi, I'm back. Today I am with a very special guest. I have asked my mum to join us today. So say hi to Teresa.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so you know what? I've decided to bring my mum onto this episode. I think it's the right time to bring her on. You guys have heard my perspective. You've heard how it's been for me, what it's like with CKD, how I've dealt with it. But I think it will be very beneficial to have a parent's insight. So I've asked my mum to jump on today to talk about. We're going to start off with me when I became diabetic, and then the whole reason I have CKD is because of the effect of my diabetes on my kidneys. So, hi mum, how are you?
I'm good, Lauren.
Okay. I want to start at the very beginning of the journey when I became diabetic. So, I became diabetic when I was like 11.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I remember when I became diabetic, I know it was very hard for me because you wait, you live a normal life, you eat what you want, you do what you want, and then all of a sudden you have to now start taking injections and all this medication and things like that. So from your perspective, like how was it for you, like be it as my mum, how did you find it at the very beginning when I was in 11?
Yeah, so obviously when you was diagnosed with diabetes type 1, it wasn't something that I actually had previously paid attention to. So I didn't have much, if any, knowledge about how diabetes worked and the organs that it affected. And then we were advised that you were going to be on injections. And I was like, oh my gosh, injections, and I was thinking, well, you're only 11, how are you going to manage this and everything else? So, it was a very, very big shock. It was life changing for all of us, especially you, because obviously you were the one that was then going to have to manage doing the injections, etc. So, and then I remember going into the hospital, into Chase Farm, and the day we went in, they were showing you how to do the injections, and then they were asking me and your dad if we wanted to have a go, and I was like, I can't do this. I just, and then I remember you saying that you didn't want us to do it, that you was like, no, I can do this myself. And I was just like, I can't believe that, at this age of the age 11, that you had the willpower and the strength to number one, acknowledge this illness, and then on top of that, to take that on of giving yourself injections in the morning, in the night. And, it was a very, very difficult beginning. And we didn't know the journey that we would then be traveling on later on down the line. So
I have to say, I remember one occasion where I was in the bathroom and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to take my injection. And I was like, you said to me, Lauren, you have to take it. I was like, no, I don't want to take it. And you did it for me. And I never forget, you did it. And then you gave me the injection, but you had to go out because you got so upset because you was like, I just can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I reached a moment where I was like, I think I was just fed up. I think at that point, But like you said, I feel like I've managed my diabetes very well. Like from a very young age, I've always been like, okay, I have to deal with this. I just have to get on with it. Just have to do it. I want to go talk about one of the first big things that happened whilst being diabetic, and that was when we went to New York. So, when you have diabetes, something that can happen, you can go into something called DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis, where your blood sugars are so high that you start to get your blood starts to get acidic. Is it acidic? Yeah. And that basically happened to me in New York. And as you all know, in New York, if you don't have insurance, money, very expensive. So thank God my mum had insurance. So again, I was more or less out of it. So I'm gonna let my mum give her explanation of what happened, because she was the one that did everything, because I literally was just so out of it. So okay, go on, mum.
So I remember that day that we met your aunt, and she took us to a restaurant. We'd just flown in into New York, and she met us in town because we were staying in a hotel because she was going for auditions. And
oh, sorry, spoiler, I sing, well, used to sing very well. I still can sing. Very well. But yeah, when she's talking about auditions, go ahead, mum. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember because you were asked to fly out by Atlantic Records. So it was a really, really important journey that we were doing. And you as well. There was no reason why you couldn't make the journey or anything anyway. So we met up with your aunt, and we went to this restaurant, and I remember you having this carbonara, which obviously when you cook carbonara, you have to be very careful how you cook it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the restaurant, you think, okay, you're safe and stuff like that. So, but anyway, so we had the dinner and everything. And in the evening, after the meal, we went back to the hotel, and we were going to, just settle down for the evening and stuff like that. And you kind of became unwell quite quickly, I recall. And I remember you checking your sugars, and your sugars were quite high. So I remember you taking your insulin and stuff like that. And then I was like, come on, let's go for a walk. We can get this down. And you got your audition tomorrow. And it was like, oh my God, what is happening here now? And everything just happened so fast. I got you back to the hotel, no improvement. In fact, got 10 times worse. And you just collapsed. You were just completely out. And I had to get the hotel to ring the ambulance and everything. And I had to, once I told them, reported what was going on and that, the ambulance were there within time and stuff like that. And, we ended up in the Presbyterian. And I remember you went into A&E and stuff like that. And from that, everything was like, you were just being taken over, and I did know what was going on. The next thing they came back to me and they said that you were seriously, seriously ill. And, it was literally a touch and go situation, because you had just gone into DKA and it was really, really bad. It was really bad. You ended up in ICU, life support, and we literally it was like everything was just taken from underneath me, because I was there in America. Okay, your aunt was there and stuff like that. But it was just me and you. It was just me and you in this situation. And then, you know, they came and said that you were seriously, seriously ill, and that, you know, they're giving you the medication, and, you know, they've put you on life support and stuff like this. And it was like, oh my God. Then I had to call your dad and tell him and everything. It was just like turmoil, literally turmoil. You know, you went there for an audition and you ended up being in ICU.
Mm.
And I remember even at that point, I said, my God, now it's me and you. It's me and you, because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Because it's out of my hands, but it's in your hands, God. And I know that I trust and I believe in you. And I know that this is your child. I am your servant. So I need your help. I need your intervention. And I remember calling my branch. I remember calling my pastor.
Pastor Yumi? At the time?
No, it was Pastor, was it George Vazera? Was it George? Pastor George.
Okay.
I think it was.
Sorry, just to say, guys, I mentioned this in my last podcast about the support network that I've had from my church. They have been
Vazera.
fantastic.
It was George Vazera.
My pastors, the assistants, my normal friends that I've made within the church. If anyone that is going through something very serious like this, or any form of health condition or whatever, I've always spoken very highly of having that support network from my church. And if you who are going through something very similar or struggling, like, reach out to me, I will point you in the right direction, because having a support network, and especially those that are of faith, I can't even, there's no words. It's phenomenal. So, sorry again, Mum. Go on.
Yeah, so I remember calling from America. I remember calling the pastor, and I told the pastor what the situation is. And I remember telling one of the assistants what was happening and stuff like that. And they said that they were going to be in prayer with us. And yeah, they prayed. They prayed. They were calling all the time. We were praying at your bedside.
Because I wasn't awake, was I?
Not at all. Throughout the whole thing.
In a coma.
You was in a coma.
Yeah.
Lauren was in a coma the whole time. So she had no idea what was going on. So it was just me and God and the faithful servants in the church that we were praying, fasting and praying the whole time. And I even remember that they contacted the pastor in New York as well, in Fulton.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Fulton, Brooklyn. Amazing church, beautiful church, actually. So yeah, if any of my US followers, check out the church on Fulton Road,
Fulton Street,
opposite Biggie Small's house,
yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So obviously, then it was just between me and God. It was just between me and God, and I have to say that, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to your faith. It's down to your faith. It's down to your trust, your belief, your dependency on God. Because one thing God will never do is let you down. He'll never let 100%. You down. Friends will let you down. Family will let you down. Friends will turn their back on you. Family will turn their back on you. One person that won't is God. He might not be physically here, but spiritually, God is there.
Yeah.
And it was God that had his hands on you.
Yeah.
During those days.
The whole time, yeah. Definitely.
It really was, because the feedback that I was getting from the doctors and everyone, it wasn't positive.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me, they said, like, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, it wasn't positive.
You need to call your dad. You need to call her dad.
It wasn't positive at all. And it was like, and then I remember the day that you woke up, it was like I had to run and call the nurse because you had a 24-hour nurse.
Oh, yeah,
with
I
you.
remember.
Yeah, you had a 24-hour nurse with you. And I remember calling her and saying, she's waking up. She's waking up. She's waking up. She came running in because obviously I was there. I was sleeping there virtually.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't go. And, you know, when they came in, obviously observations and stuff like that.
I remember the
and
tube and I was like...
Yeah, everything was, loads of tubes and stuff. And it was like, my God, thank you. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I can't do enough for you, but to surrender my life to you, to give you thanks and honor, because that's what he deserves.
Mm.
Because he's the maker, he's the provider, and he's the savior.
Mm-hmm.
And you was in the hospital for a week, nearly a week, before they agreed to let us fly back home.
Yeah.
Because you had to get clearance then to fly back home because of what had happened to you.
And I still had my audition. I still met with Atlantic Records.
You
I
did.
still sang for them.
And you did.
And I did very well.
You did. You did it the day before we flew back out.
Yeah. Because they were like, no, we want to see you. We have to see you.
I had to contact them and let them know what had happened to you because you was meant to have the audition the following day. And then I had to contact them and say, well, look, this is the situation. And they were fantastic. Atlantic Records were fantastic.
Yeah.
And they was like, no, we're holding their place. Whenever, however, we had to extend your stay by a couple of days. And we went over to his house and you did your audition.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
No. I went to Atlantic Records first.
The studio.
Yeah. Top floor.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, I want to put you in the studio.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we went to the guy's house in New Jersey and that was a serious studio.
Yeah.
So
they said your voice was absolutely amazing for your, for your age and everything else. They just couldn't believe the fact that of what you had just gone through,
so sick,
and yet you could go there then and actually sing the way that you did. It was amazing.
Quick fact: I've been singing and dancing since I was 3 years old. My parents put me in singing and dancing since I was
school.
Since when I was in private school. Like, I have lived on a stage. And I think that's why maybe for me to come on and do a podcast and speak so freely and I'm very outgoing and this and that, I think it's because it was instilled in me from a very young age, because I did singing, dancing and drama and all this type of stuff. So I don't really have a fear of like public speaking. And I suppose that is why I also chose to go down the career route of training as a barrister, which is a lot of public speaking, because I'm very used to speaking and talking. So just a fun fact. But okay, so that was kind of the first exposure of one of the realities of what can happen when you have diabetes, but it was very, very extreme. I'm going to fast forward and then I'm going to talk about when I lost my sight, because this was the second big thing, what happened to me when I had diabetes. So I'll speak about my perspective and then I'll pass on to Mum. But I never forget, I went to church on the Sunday, went to VYG, I drove, had the Mini, I love my Mini. And I pulled up on the drive, I was so tired and I was like, yeah, fine. But you know what? Could see as normal. Nothing was wrong. And then I had dinner and I was like, oh, Mum, I'm going to go to bed because I'm tired, I got work tomorrow. When I woke up, like how I look at you now, how I look at Mum now is how I could see the day before. But when I woke up, it was like, as my eyes are closed, just pure black. Like my sight had completely gone. And I remember calling Mum and I was like, Mum, can you come here? I don't know. It's something on my face. It's something on my face. And she was like, no. She was like, why? I was like, I can't see you. And she was like, what? And so I remember her waving her hand across my face. So I could feel the motion of her hand moving, but I couldn't see it. And then I was like, no, mum, I can't see. I can't see. So then we rushed to Moorfields.
Mhm.
Yeah, rushed to Moorfields. And they told me that I had a retina detachment. Again, it's another thing that can happen when you have diabetes. You can have a bleed. And that's basically what happened. The back of my eye bled and spilled out into my vision.
The vessel.
Yeah, the vessel in the back of my eye spilled out into my vision and completely wiped my vision from the blood. And then they were like, okay, so we have to bring you into surgery. And bearing in mind, I was thinking, okay, if we have to go into surgery, I'm going to go into surgery straight away. No. So I was like this maybe 3-4 weeks until they called me into surgery. So can you imagine? You have sight one day and then you wake up and you have no sight. And then you have no sight for 4 weeks. And I'm having to hold on to my mum to guide me. Or when, for example, when we go to church, my pastor would have to help me with Lord's Supper. People would have to open the door. I'd be touching to feel to get around. And one thing I can say about that, in general, as human beings, we take the very small things that we do as natural daily things for granted. Because for me, I was like, yeah, I can, let me type an email, let me this, because I have my sight. But now I don't have my sight. I can't do any of those things. And those are the things that we do normally every single day that we do take for granted. And we actually don't say, you know what, I have to be grateful to God because there's someone that actually can't do this on a normal everyday life. And I was exposed to that, even though it's for a very short period of time. I was exposed to what it is like to be completely blind, and how much I had to depend on my mum. Depend, like when my dad would come and pick me up and take me out, I have to depend on him, hold on to him, hold on to like my pastor when he's opening the door and all these things. Like it was really, really difficult. I think for me, that out of all of the situations with my health has been the hardest thing that I had to struggle with. Because can you imagine what 1 minute you have your sight, you have something, and then the next day it's completely gone. For me, I think I was scared that I was never going to get my sight back. It really frightened me, even though the doctors was like, oh yeah, you know, it's going to get better and this, but I really had to like trust. And I think that is when I started doing my purposes with pastor. I was on the altar, 7 a.m., 6:30, just, you know, fighting, because to lose your sight and to not know if you're going to get it back is very, very difficult, because you know, you have your sight one day and then another day you don't have it. You don't know how you're then gonna live your life.
And this is life, isn't it? This is life. A lot of us, many of us, most of us take a lot of things for granted.
Yeah.
You know, we see that we have limbs, we have hands, feet, legs, ears to hear, eyes to see, mouth to speak. But what would happen if you lost one of those? How really would you deal with it?
Yeah.
You know, and if, again, like I say, if you don't have the belief and the faith in God that he can do what he did in the past, then you're going to have to ask yourself, really, what would I do? Because that is what it takes. It takes the faith and the trust in God that you have, and the purposes that you did with the pastors, in church, but it was because you had the faith. It's not about the human being, the physical person, as in the pastor or the assistant or whatever. It was your faith that had to come into play, had to come into action in order for God to react.
There was something, there was a word that God spoke to me, and I held on to it for the whole. And bearing in mind, it took me 2 years for total restoration of my sight.
Mm.
But it was of the example of when the man said, Jesus said to the man, like, what do you see, when he was blind? And he says, oh, I see men like trees. And then he made the clay, put it in his face, and told him to go wash. And he had his sight back. And all I just kept remembering is God saying to me, as I did for that man, as I did in the past, I'm going to give you your sight back. And I kid you not, I held on to that, because during the whole period of me getting my sight, it got worse.
Yeah.
It didn't get better.
Yeah, it did.
It got worse. And it didn't just get worse. It got 100 times worse. It got to the point where I was in excruciating pain. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I was screaming. And I never forget my grandma. She's like, no, something's not right here. She's like, no, she shouldn't be crying like this, because I was the pain. And but even all through that, I just kept saying, God, you said to me, I'm going to get it back. So even through this difficult moment, you told me I'm going to get it back. So if you said I'm going to get it back, I just got to go through this. I just got to keep going, keep pushing forward. And because I held on to the word, that is the only thing that brought me out. Like you said, it's not what the purpose is and the things that I was doing. It was actually my faith in the word and my relationship with God that helped me to go through. But let me ask you, from your sorry.
But I also remember, out of all the times, because you was back and forth to Moorfields Eye Hospital, back and forth with situations. I remember the time when you was in the office. Do you remember that time? And you was actually at your desk, and I was working, and you called me,
and I had a bleed.
And you had a bleed, and you was like, Mum, I'm at my desk. I now can't see.
Yeah.
I can't see. And I was like, okay, get them to call you a cab and get to Moorfields. I'll meet you there. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, not again. You know, this is just getting worse. This is not getting better.
Yeah. Mm.
And then I remember what God says. Before things get better, when you're serving God, when you're trusting in God, when you're attached to Him, expect things to get worse before they get better.
Just to say as well, I know you may look at us, you may look at me and my mum, and you think, oh my gosh, you guys are talking about all these really serious things, and they are like horrible and they're hard. But look at your face. Like, you don't look sad. You don't look like, you can see that we're smiling, and it's because through the struggle and through the pain and everything, we don't look at it as, oh God, this is unfair, or oh God, this is an injustice. We look at it as God has given it to us, or not given it to us, but has allowed for us to go through it, because at the end of it, He's going to be, number one, He's going to be glorified. Number two, there is a big, huge testimony that is going to come from it. And third, it's also going to bless someone else. And every time I look at these situations that I go through, it has added and built a part of my character. And I believe the same for my mum. I believe it's made my mum more resilient. It's made me more resilient. And I look at myself and I say, oh my gosh, I'm a pretty cool person, I'm pretty amazing. Like, I honestly, I think sometimes, even when I'm at work, people say to me, oh my gosh, you're so bubbly, you're so this, and you got this going on with your kidneys. And I'm like, yeah, okay. It's like people are just so fazed by how I'm so happy and so just, I take it in my stride. And I think, again,
because how many times have I asked you, Lauren, are you okay? Lauren, are you okay?
Yeah.
And you would say, Mum, stop asking me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm fine.
It's true. Because I hate to tell you, I am. I hate to tell you, but it's the truth. I really am. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it was all a walk in the park. It was a cup of tea. Far from it.
Not by far.
Because I'm not going to sit here and say that there was times I did not cry. And I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, we did.
And not that it wasn't not hard, because it really was. It was hard, but I think I was more just like crying because I was like, okay, I just want to know how to get through it. I just want to know how to walk through the rough waters. I know that I'm gonna come out, but I just want to know how to push through it. And another thing as well, a lot of it is the crying element. Anything with me is pain. I don't deal well with pain at all. I deal well with bad news, because when I got told that I lost my sight, I didn't cry, I didn't get upset. I was just like, okay, what do I need to do? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I never once was like, no, because I'm not that kind of person. I'm just like, okay, what do I have to do? What's next? Da, da, da. I'm just very much an on-job person. Like, what do we have to do? So yeah, I'm not really like that. I just like to know, what do I have to do? Let's just get it done. I think I've always been with that kind of mentality. And I have to say, I get that from mum, because mum, I grew up bearing in mind, even though my dad is very, very prominent, very much in my life, I still grew up in a single household. I still grew up with a single mother. And my mum, she provides for me, provided from when I was a young age. She trained, she did the knowledge. She's a black cab driver, and she did all of this while still looking after me, putting me through private school, putting me through private primary, private secondary, doing all the other stuff. So I feel like mum has the mentality of, no, I don't have time to be getting upset or worrying about this stuff. We just need to get things done. And I feel like she's instilled that in me, where when I hear things that are not good news, I'm just like, oh, I just have to get it done. Don't have time to be getting upset or crying. Let's just keep going. But like I said, I don't do well with pain, so you'll catch me crying if I'm in pain. So, yeah.
But I think, just to kind of surround that off with the situation with your eyes, look how God works. When you had to go for that final retina operation, who did God give you?
Oh, Professor Charters.
He gave you the best.
Oh,
he was the person in charge. He put you up.
Yeah. Put me in private.
Kept you in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he made sure this is what God did, not what the professor did or anyone. I mean, but God gave you the best.
Yeah, 100%.
Because this is what happens when you're a child of God. God takes care of you.
Yeah.
And this is what he did with your eyes. I remember just before you went for that operation and we ended up in Moorfield.
Yeah.
I called one of the assistants and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. And she said to me, go in the bathroom, find a toilet and go on your knees.
In the bathroom?
That's what I did. I remember I left you that with the person, the doctor that was dealing with you. Go in the toilet, go on your knees, forget who is around you. Go on your knees. Go on your knees because it's time. And that's what I did. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you got admitted, everything, and it was just full on after that.
So,
but God, and this is what God does. He hears and he answers. Don't think that as small as your prayer might be, don't think that he's not listening.
Yeah.
Don't think that he doesn't see, who your helper is. Yeah. He sees and he honors, and he did. He honored.
So then we went, let's forward a little bit. Then we went 3, 4. So eyes are good. Everything's good. We're on track. I'm training. I'm preparing to train as a barrister, and we're going. And then I was in a law firm at the time. And then I said, oh, Mum, I need to take some time off because I've got my exams coming up and I just need to take some time off for myself. And he said, okay, fine. I've got to go to work in the morning, but fine, you do what you got to do because I plan to go to Inner Temple to go to the library. So when you're training as a barrister, you have to join a Inns of Court. I've joined my aunt's Inns of Court because my aunt was already a judge. So I was like following the route. So then mum was like, okay, I've got to go to work in the morning. So I said, okay, fine. Then she's prepared her bag. She's ready to go out to do some visits. And she calls up and she says, this is what I was told, by the way. She's going to clarify. But she calls up and she says, Lauren, I'm going through the door. Bye. And usually, you know, when you don't want to be bothered while you're asleep, you just be like, yeah, whatever. And usually my mum will take that as an answer as, okay, I've heard her. I can go through the door and continue on with my day. But that day, I never responded. And mum was like, what on earth? Why is this girl not responded? So she came upstairs and she was like, did you not hear me calling you? No response. Lauren, did you not hear me calling you? No response. She then tries to shake me to wake me. No response. And then she's like, what on earth? Then she's shaking me hard and I'm still not responding. Then she calls the ambulance. I went into a coma in my sleep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had fallen out with my cousin. One thing I've mentioned about my cousin before, me and him are very, very close. And yeah, so ambulance came, couldn't wake me. Doctor did lumbar puncture, brain scan, MRI, everything. Could not wake me. And they turned around and I remember mum telling me the doctor cried because he was like, I have a daughter and I don't know what to tell you because I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know why she's not waking up. I don't know what it is, but you're just going to have to wait for her to come out of this coma by herself. So bearing in mind, I've said I'm not speaking to my cousin.
You were taken up to ICU.
Yeah, I was taken up to ICU. And I remember waking up to my cousin's voice. I remember him, my cousin, and my uncle Junior, my mum's brother. So my Uncle Junior was on my left. No, Aaron was on my left and my Uncle Junior was on my right. I remember Aaron saying, Lauren, it's me. Lauren, it's Aaron. And I woke up and I was like, started touching everything and everyone kept touching me. No, don't touch, because I had the oxygen tubes and things down my throat. And when I woke up, I was so surprised to see him on my left and my Uncle Junior on my right, because I was thinking, why are they both here? And then I was like, when they took all the tubes out, I said to him, why are you here? Why am I here? What am I in this bed? What's going on? And then mum came rushing in. She was like, oh, you're awake. I think I was in that coma for like, 3-4 days. And whilst I was starting to kind of wake up, I wanted to get out of the bed. And they were like, no, you can't get out. But by that point, I actually wasn't even able to walk because my body had literally just shut down. And again, this was something, again, linked to my diabetes, unfortunately. Yeah. One thing I do want to say in this episode, do not take, if you've unfortunately been diagnosed with diabetes, do not take it as a very small thing. Take it seriously, because I'm not going to say the whole reason, but part of the reason that I have ended up in some of the situations, or even with my kidneys and stuff, is because whilst I was always taking my insulin, always taking my medication, I did not accept diabetes. And I was like, yeah, I have it. But as long as I take my medication and I eat what I want and do this, but I take my insulin, and I didn't actually learn how to manage it within my lifestyle. I just kind of was like, okay, I'm taking my insulin. That's the most important thing. No, it's not that.
You have to manage everything.
You have to manage everything. You have to make sure you're making those conscious decisions. And yes, it is a sacrifice, but
it's what keeps you alive.
Yeah, and you have to accept, you know what, I have this right now. It doesn't mean that you can't not overcome it, because I know of people that have reversed diabetes and
Mhm.
have changed it. But it's the pure fact you have to say to yourself, you know what? Okay, for right now I have this, but I need to know that even though I have it, I have to deal with it.
Mm.
Not just push it to the back of your head and say, yeah, as long as I take my medication, that's it. No, because you're going to end up putting yourself in very serious situations that you don't necessarily need to go into, and you can actually end up causing your family a lot of pain and unnecessary pain that they don't need to go through. It's something that I have acknowledged and I've admitted to myself and I've been working on. So yeah, back to the whole coma thing. That was another very crazy situation. But okay, so because we haven't got that long, we've focused quite a bit on my diabetes and everything. And yes, I manage my blood sugars very well. I've got a Libra, I've got a Dexcom. In a couple of weeks, I'm moving on to an Omnipod pump. So I'm very happy about that. But as you all know, I'm waiting for a kidney pancreas transplant. And when I go for my kidney pancreas transplant, I will actually won't be needing anything, because having a kidney pancreas transplant means that I won't be diabetic anymore. So it's a very good thing.
Because it's the pancreas that produces the insulin, hence why you have to take insulin.
One thing I will say, when you become diabetic or any form of like medical problem, you become like a doctor yourself, because you know so much.
Yeah.
And do you feel like
I've learned a lot about a lot of things.
Yeah,
about the organs, what the function of the kidney. The function of the kidney is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
it's the smallest, if not the smallest organ in the body.
See, I didn't.
The kidneys are.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not big.
But its function, is it keeps you alive. Okay, your heart and your liver and all the other things.
Mm.
But if that kidney is not working, look what it can do.
Okay, so we're going to move on to kidneys. I like talking about my kidneys. It's weird, but I don't mind talking about it.
Now.
Yeah, now. So, okay. Where should I start from? I think I'll start from the beginning. When I came home from dinner and I started to crawl up the stairs because I couldn't breathe. And I was like, nah, Mum, something's not right. And you was like, yeah, you don't look too good. And then I got taken to Romford and I got rushed through to resus, and you got left in the back, and they were like, no, you can't come in right now. We have to do some blood tests and this and that. And then I never forget when they told us what it was, I remember crying so bad. And I was like, I want my grandma. I want my grandma. I want to talk to my grandma. But grandma was sleeping. One thing with me, when another thing when I'm unwell, I always call my grandma. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. And grandma always comes to the hospital.
Always.
She's 95 now, but obviously this has been going on like 20 odd years. And when she was more able, she was getting on the bus, she was getting on the train. And even if like my mum
she'd get there somehow.
She'd say, no, don't worry about me. No, I'm not waiting for you. I'll go to the hospital. Bye. Just come. But that time, I think because it was like, 1 o'clock in the morning, like she didn't answer. Then when she did call me in the morning, she was like, oh, I missed your call. Tell your mum to come and get me. But when I was told, the first, after calling my grandma, the next thing I said to my mum was, I have to call my cousin. Again, me and my cousin fell out. But I never forget, because the doctor had said to myself and my mum, they were like, look, we're really sorry, but you are very, very sick, and we're going to be completely transparent with you now. It's whether or not you make it through the next 24 hours, because it could go to the point that, you make it, or you're not going to make it, like you're going to pass away. It was that serious. And I said to myself, do you know what? I am not going to go to hell for the pure fact that me and my cousin have PASA. My whole life I've lived righteously before God. And I go and I die, and then I go to the gate, and then God says, sorry, you can't come in here because up until this very last moment, you chose to have passive bit with your cousin. You chose to hold grudge. You chose to. So I said, no, you have to call my auntie Jackie right now. You have to get her on the phone.
Wake him up.
You have to wake him up. I don't care. And I told him, and I said, Aaron, I know you're half asleep, but I need you to listen to me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just letting you know. I love you. I'm sorry. I ask for your forgiveness. Boom. And he was like, what's going on? Why are you asking me? Why are you saying this? I said, because I might not make it. You might not hear from me tomorrow morning because I might not wake up because I'm very sick. He said, no, don't say that. Don't say that. I'm going to see you tomorrow. We're going to talk. I was like, I cannot tell you that is going to happen. But what I can tell you is that I love you. You're my cousin and I'm sorry. And when I came off the phone, I hung up. The peace. Oh my gosh, that filled my soul. I said, God, I know it's not something that my mum was. Later on, when I said this to Mum, I said, "Oh, Mum, I'm good if I have to go." And she was like, "No, don't say that. I'm not ready for you to go and be by myself." But in that moment, when I was with my cousin, again, the pain that my body was in, but the peace that I had, I said, "You know what, God, if it is tonight that you call me,
let your will be done.
I'm good because I've now resolved whatever that would have impeded me if I needed to go. Now, the garments are clean. So if you now call me, I'm good." But no, I'm here. I'm still here. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to not talk about my experience with my kidneys because I've spoken about it a lot and I'm going to let my mum now speak for the next 15 minutes because that's how long we got about left. So I'm just going to let mum speak about it and just explain how she has felt this journey has been with my kidneys, and we're going to talk about surgeries, tubes, people that I've had around me that I've felt that haven't supported me and things like friends and this and that. So I'm not going to speak no more.
Yeah, so when you were taken into, originally it was Queen's, and they kept you there for days and days and days and days, and they knew that they couldn't manage your situation. But they couldn't move you because they needed to stabilize you. The problem was stabilizing you. They couldn't stabilize you. And then as a parent, as a mother, obviously it was like, I need you to move my daughter now. But it wasn't about what I could do, but what they were able to do. So for me, that was a big frustration, a big frustration. So again, it was like continuously back and forth from the hospital every day. I would get on to the consultants, the doctors there. Okay, when is she going? When is she going? She needs to go. You can't keep her here. You can't keep her here because nothing was happening.
Oh, yeah.
They could just stabilize you. And I'm like, you can't just keep telling me you're stabilized. You need to move her. And I had to keep going and taking it to the altar. And I kept saying, my God, if she's going to stand a chance, she needs to get to the Royal London. She needs to be moved now. I need you to move that mountain now because I can't do it on my own. I can't do it. And you know, it was just, it was so stressful. But in saying the stress was there, it was the peace and the determination that took over that stress that made me just say, I just had to pursue. And that's what God was telling, pursue. And eventually, the consultant, I said, she goes today. And even when the ambulance guys came to get you from the ward, I said to them, they said, oh, we've been waiting to take her since yesterday. And I said, what do you mean you've been waiting to take her since? They've been waiting to take you from the day before. And I was like, tied up anyway. So anyway, you went eventually. You went, and it had to be an ambulance that could deal with your situation in case you crashed.
Yeah, I was blue lighted.
So, you was blue lighted, but it had to be, there's different ambulances, which again,
I didn't know.
Didn't know. Learn all these things. But it had to be a certain ambulance that could only take you as well. Anyway, you was admitted to the Royal London, and you went up to the renal ward, and the team there were fantastic. Absolutely. God gives you the best. He really does. And then you were told that your kidneys were just like
running on 6%.
Yeah, 6% functionality, and you could have gone at any time. Because on 6%, the kidneys, they manage all your toxins and stuff like that. And imagine 6% toxins going haywire in your body. And it was like, they were just like, she needs to go on dialysis. And then we thought about your granddad, and I was like, dialysis? Oh my gosh. Like, then I realized this is serious. This is, dialysis is like, it's kind of near the end of treatment and stuff like that. But like you say, God works. And then you had to have this tube. They had to put, I can't remember the name of it.
The line in my groin.
She had to have a line in her groin. And it was just like, they kind of explain things and they make it sound like it's all nice and just a little insertion and just a little tube and da-da-da. And then
lies.
You hear Lauren screaming down the corridor, and it was like the pain. The pain that you came back in was unbearable to see from a mother's point of view. You just want to take the pain away. You just want to make it all better. As mothers, that's what we want to do for our kids. We want them well, we want them safe and everything else. And for me, at that time, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. But you bared it. You bared it.
But then the next day I went in for surgery for the tube.
Next day you went into surgery and they were explaining about her having this tube in her stomach and that there would be fluid going in, fluid coming out. And we'd have this bag and that bag. What's it called? Peritoneal?
Yeah, peritoneal dialysis. PD. To have a dialysis at home.
So then she had this tube in her stomach and I was like, my God, really? Do we really have to do this? And it's just having the strength to manage it. For me not to even show Lauren how I was really feeling inside. To be honest with you, how I felt. I felt isolated in the sense that I couldn't do anything. But again, for the faith and trust that I have in God, that's what I held on to. That's what I held on to, because whilst we know a lot of people, there wasn't a lot of people. Even me, as knowing a lot of people for a very, very long time, you would expect that support network to be there. Yeah. And then I realised, okay, it's me and you, God. It's me and you. Again, massive support from the church. I'm not saying that, that they came, they visited, we prayed. And, obviously people did come, but then I realised that this is a journey that me and Lauren have to do. And we've been on that journey since, because the PD didn't work. We went home with it. It made her even more sick, more ill.
That was
more ill.
Horrendous.
All these bags of fluid, how many? About 5 or 6 bags.
There's 50 boxes.
And then during the night, I'm hearing this machine. I'm in the room next door and I'm hearing this machine working on my daughter, and I'm like, no. I was like, my God, please, something has to happen, because it was making you worse.
Yeah.
It was making you worse.
The person that you see
you
now.
you couldn't do anything. You wasn't functional.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think maybe people felt that they didn't want to come around you because of this illness, rather than just treating you as Lauren.
Yeah.
They saw this illness around you, and maybe they didn't want to be, maybe they couldn't manage it, they couldn't deal with it. I don't know. But, I think at the end of the day, you are Lauren, and that whatever is going on in a person's life, you are who you are.
Yeah.
And that should never change when people, you've got friends that you've grown up with, that you went to school with, that you studied with, that you've worked with, even your family, your cousins and stuff like that. The support network that you should have had then and should have now, it's not there. And that's why I'm really, really glad. I'm really glad, and I know God is pleased that you decided to hold on to him, because he's permanent. He's permanent, and he will not leave you. He's going to see you through this.
Yeah.
He's going to see you through it. He's seen you through it up until now, and he's going to finish seeing you through it. And he's the only one, not even me as your mother, but he is the only one that you need to trust and believe in.
Yeah.
And so after we had to backtrack from the PD, and then we realised that then the only option was your most dreaded one, which is what you saw your granddad go through and pass away. Unfortunately. Hemodialysis, which is the blood dialysis. So Lauren has a line here, and she goes to dialysis 3 times a week now. And basically they link her up to the machine, and it does what it does. And you're there 3 times a week for 3.5 hours and stuff like that. You've made really good friends there, very, very good support network.
My nurse Gillian.
And her nurse Gillian. And, God giveth, God taketh away. God provides, he provides the best. He gives you the best. He gives you what you need. He will always give you what you need. And, even in terms of, the medical teams that you've had and everything else, absolutely amazing. Can't thank them enough for not just providing the medical help, but for also giving the support, the emotional help, the advice, just talking to you as a person, and not as someone, oh, I've got kidney failure.
Yeah.
Do you know what 100%, I mean?
100%, I agree.
They treat you as you're supposed to be treated.
Even at work, my team at work, one of the, Kevin, I actually didn't tell him that I had kidney failure, and I told him today. He was like, what? But he was like, don't make a difference to me because you're Lauren. And everyone at work treats me like Lauren. They don't treat me now like, oh, I have to be delicate with Lauren, have to be kept, like, because there's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with me, but there's obviously something wrong. But there's nothing wrong. And I don't want people to be treating me like there's something wrong with me. So it's very nice from the support that I receive from these lot in the office, from the hospital, from church, everyone treat me like Lauren, and it is much, much appreciated. Hold on, Brent, how long have I got left? Yeah? Okay.
I just wanted to say that, to go down, to do this journey, okay, it's been a lesson for all of us. Experience, 100%. We're learning, we're still learning. And I have to take my hat off to your Auntie Jackie, because I remember there was one day that she decided to actually go to dialysis with you.
Yeah.
And she said, what an eye-opener. She was so glad that she actually went because she learned so much. One, about what was going on with you, but also about diabetes, about kidney, the whole lot. She sat there for 3.5 hours while you was on, and she says she learned so much just by being there.
Shout out to anyone, actually. If anyone wants to kind of have an insight and you say, you know what, I wouldn't mind sitting with you at dialysis, drop me a message, send me an Instagram. You can come. I just need to arrange it. Just have to let them know. If you want to see and know what it's like, again, an eye-opener for you. And it might even help you, might say, you know what, I haven't actually been grateful for what I have. And then you go and sit in a room full of people on machines. Come. I'm more than welcome to have you. Like, I'm fine. But I know that there's more things that my mum wants to say, but we are running out of time.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'm going to just let mum kind of finish up, pass a little bit of words of wisdom, and we're going to say bye. So go on, mum.
So basically, you know, life-changing situations, we don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know the day, the time, the hour, the month. We cannot afford to take things for granted.
100%.
Yeah. Number one, we have to take care of our bodies. God has given it to us.
Yeah.
And He wants us to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of relationships, friends, family, they're important. But the most important relationship that you should be having from now, is the relationship with God.
Yeah.
Have that relationship with God. Get to know Him, because it's what has seen Lauren through this journey until now, and it will see her through the rest of her life. Get to know Him. Get to know Him. Because you may think that you're out there living your life, enjoying yourselves, going about your day, and, you know, you're out, you know, and you think, oh, well, getting married is the most important thing, raving or, you know, whatever. But it's not. I'm telling you now, because here today, gone tomorrow. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to invite you to get to know your Maker, the one that is allowing you to live each day, every day that you wake up, every day that you can see, every day that you can walk, that you can hear, that you can eat. He is the one that is providing that for you. Yeah. So I just want to pass that message on, and I want to say, you know, just God bless you. God bless you all. God bless you all, and take care. Take care. Okay.
All right, guys, that's the end of our fourth. No, is it no, oh my God. Third or fourth episode. It's the end of the episode, regardless. So, thanks, Mom.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah, so next person that most probably gonna have my second parent, which is my dad. My dad's a real Jamaican, so it's gonna be a bit more. But yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to my mum for jumping on this. It was an episode that I kept asking her that I wanted to bring her on to give her point of view, her insight of how she's seen with all my health and everything. So I'm really glad she's come on. It will be out soon, so make sure you follow, you subscribe, you repost. Anyone that is going through anything, please do not keep it to yourself. I am here. Reach out to me. Obviously not WhatsApp, but Instagram, YouTube, however means of contact, reach out. You are not alone. I am here. Other people are here. They're here to support you. So yeah. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And we'll be back in 2-3 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.